Hi friends, it's Becky, and tonight I'm going to be working from the Jesse James Beads Magical Mystery Bead Box for February. This one was the La Dolce Vita one with just absolutely Mediterranean inspired, living in the sunshine, beads and findings, and all sorts of delicious things. And I am definitely going to be doing something with these, but not tonight. Tonight I want to use some of the SilverSilk that got made to go with this. I got some of the leather chain. This is, I think it's 1mm leather. I don't know. You can find it on the site. They'll have that detail. But then it has this knitted wire chain surrounding it. So I've got some in this great red colorway. I've got some in this like limoncello colorway. And then I think this was the basket weaving colorway. And it is gorgeous. And I love it. And I think that's the one that I'm going to be using for this project. I want to make a bracelet. And I want to also make some barrel knots in this leather chain as part of my bracelet. I think it'll look really great with like the handmade feel components that are going to go with it. So let me put away some of these other beads real quick, because these basket weaving ones, they've got this leather, and if you just kind of widen the holes a little bit with your pliers, just real gently, because the holes are a little bit tight with the leather in the way, but if you move the leather out of the way a little bit, I just want to show you, the SilverSilk will fit right on there, and it can fit on there. And then we've got some spacers that will also fit, and I'm going to be using these like placematty kind of guys and some 26 gauge wire, and I'm going to turn this into a little beaded bead that will fit around this as well. So these are what I'm going to be using for my bracelet. I've also got the little clasp that came in here, and that's going to be on that bracelet. And I haven't decided yet if I want to no, I'm going to keep it simple. Let's keep it simple. This is what I'm going to be making with for tonight. And I need to get some findings for ending my leather chain, and the capture chain findings fit the leather chain perfectly, so I can use some of those if I can get them out of my thing. And they're just the findings that are manufactured by SilverSilk and more. We've got the little SS on there, so that will connect there. If you don't have some of these, some glue-in cord ends would also work really well in order to get these all closed. And I'm just going to move my other chains away. There also had this pipe chain. This was a bundle where you got 2 different colors, and if you wanted to learn how to do like stitching onto pipe chain, because of the high contrast between the rubber tubing and the wire, you can see the stitches really well on these. So if you were going to do any of the tutorials that I've done with stitching on here, or there's some that Cassandra has done with doing bead weaving and stitching onto it, this is a really good chain to do that with because of that high contrast. I just wanted to point that out while I was putting it away. But it's got all of those. So for tools, I'm mostly going to just be using my flush cutters and some chain nose pliers. And oh, let me grab some jump rings for attaching to our guys. I'm just going to move those out of the way, get all of my findings up and out of here so we can concentrate on what we're doing down here. All right. So I'm going to try and remember how to do a barrel knot. Let me see. I can adjust the knot placement. I'm not sure exactly how far I want it to go, about half of there, probably. I can add some extra jump rings if I need to make it longer, but I think I'm going to start with it about there, because that's going to go around. No, it's going to take up some room, so maybe about there. All right, so barrel knot. Maybe I should start from the other direction, actually. So I'm going to hold this over my finger like this, and I'm going to go around 1, 2, nope, a little bit more. Yeah, let's do it from this end, because then I know where I want it to be. All right, sorry. I'm trying to remember barrel knots. I am not a barrel knot expert. There are other YouTubers who are very good at it because they have a lot of practice. All right, so let me start over again, because now that I've remembered, I can talk you through it. So I'm going to hold this end in my hand, and I'm just bending this over the top of my finger, and then I'm going to bring this back towards me so this loop stays right there on my finger. I'm going to wrap it 3 times, and then I'm going to very carefully hold the entire knot and slide it off my finger without this end coming through. And then, see, I've got a little opening here. I'm going to feed this end, the end that is attached to the part of the cord that I was wrapping around. I'm going to put it right through that hole that I made. And this is the tricky part, I think, is the tightening of it, because I want all these knots to stay in the same order, that all the loops, I want them to stay in the same order while I tighten this. So I'm just kind of pushing on both sides and also pulling on both sides a little bit. You know what? I can shorten this end of the leather if I need to when I do that. All right. There we go. See how nice that looks with the SilverSilk? That looks great. Okay, so now I'm going to string on my beads. We've got these chunky spacers. They fit great on the leather cord. You put that one right next to this one. Put on these basket guys. All right, so we're already got ourselves a nice chunky chunk. And now let's turn this guy into a bead before I put the other ones on there. Pull off, I'm probably not going to need a ton of this 26 gauge wire. Probably work with 24 gauge too. But I just want to go through one end of this just a couple of times so that it's good and on here on that end. This wire is going to be holding it together. You could probably use beading needle and thread as well, or instead of, to join both of the sides together. But I'm just going to do a real quick and dirty with the wire. Try not to kink your wire. Right. So I went through, I attached it to this side, and then I went through this loop, and I'm bringing it back around to the other side. I'm going to put it through this hole here and all the way through to the other side. Just going to wrap it around and try to get the wire to go between the beads if you can. Like that. So let's go between those beads. Because yeah, I'm gonna turn these into a little beaded bead. We are gonna have this be part of that design. Okay, yes. There's an opening. I think I need to go around one more time and go through here. So it's not going to be super visible. I'm just going to go a couple of times just around this end bead here, just the one side, not the other side, just so that I can make sure it's secure. And this wire being in here is not that big of a deal to me because it's going to be inside up against here. So I'm just going to cut this off there because it's not going to be rubbing against anybody's skin or anything like that. The only thing it'll be rubbing against is the other wire, the leather, if it does that at all. I'm going to cut this one here. Use my pliers to tuck that little end in. But yeah, you could use like some beading thread and a needle and just kind of sew between these if you wanted to form this into a little sausage shape. Beady sausage, there we go. All right, so now I'm going to slide this onto my SilverSilk. I'm going to go in this direction because that's the way that that wire is pointing. That's just going to sit there between those two, like that. Put this guy on here. It's going to be like just a super simple, we're letting the beads and the SilverSilk do like all the work for us. All right. I love it. I was like, will this work? Yes, yes, it will work. Good job, me. All right, so now I gotta remember how to do a barrel knot again. All right, so we're gonna start about here, I think. So I'm gonna want some room for the wrapping, and I can move this. 1, 2, 3. All right, now let's pull that off of there carefully. Slowly, slowly, catchy monkey. All right, here we go. And then I've got my little opening here. I'm gonna put that end through. It is actually, I think, a little easier to do this than with some other more drapey mediums because it's kind of stiff. The loops hold their shape really well for me. Really, really well. All right. Now we're gonna start closing in. This is the tricky part, is making sure it gets onto the right part of the leather chain. Squeezing it and just moving. Don't know if you guys can see me moving just a little bit. With this, I'm pulling it with my fingers while I'm pushing against the knot to try and get it to tighten up right here against these guys and not over here. Okay. All right, let's get some measurements for clasp. I believe right there is going to be good. So let me get this one cut. Keep in mind that the, yes, clasp will take up some space. And then I'm going to measure against that one so that it's even. It's just going to be a really simple bracelet once it's done. And you know what? I could grab some more wire and like wire wrap some like sparkly beads on here if I wanted to. And you know, maybe it would look really good, but I feel like just doing simple tonight. And I know barrel knots and turning placemats into beaded beads is not a lot of people's definitions of simple, but there we go. That's gonna look great. Let's get the attachments attached. All right, so for these, I'm just gonna give it a little widening. I'm sticking the end of my pliers in, and then I'm using my fingers to spread them apart just a little bit to make it a little bit easier for this. And I want the SS to be pointing out away from the curve of this. I'm gonna use my pliers gently to close these crimps. Actually, let me give it a good close, a really good squish. There we go. Got a couple of extra wires hanging out the side. I'm just going to cut those off with my and it's very carefully. This has an edge right here. I don't know if you can see it. So I'm just going to put this edge into that opening so that it doesn't file away the coating on the thing, just to file down those little edges of wire. Just because I don't like pokey things poking me when I'm wearing jewelry. Okay, that's good enough for me. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And see what grips it is there's this little lip on the inside of here, and that will grip the chain and hold it on there. You can glue it if you want that extra security, but you really don't need to. Okay, and this does need to be widened a little bit. So pliers in, slightly open. And again, I want that SS to be pointing out. That in. Oh, I'm gonna flatten down that little piece a little bit more so that it's give me less to have to cut off. All right, I'm gonna start the closure, and then I'm gonna finish the closure. See, that just clamps right down. Little jaws. I know some of you really like my longer videos, and I'm sorry that I'm doing short videos, but it was a long day for me today. It was very much a Monday. So I am doing simple, I'm doing easy, and I wanted to make something with this for a little while, but I was so busy with some of my other projects, with my little challenge that I was doing, and so I am still enjoying just doing one project at a time. I'm gonna go ahead and get the loop part of this toggle closure attached on this side, and I'm doing that with some jump rings. I'm just opening and closing those jump rings. Let me check my sizing and see if I need additional. Nope, that's gonna actually be a little bit on the loose side, and that's okay with me. That is okay with me. For it to be a little on the loose side, yeah. So let's get this guy open on the other side. And I just twist open the jump ring. You don't want to spread it wide. And then drop it so that the jump ring goes flying. And then get a different jump ring. Great tutorial, right? This is why you always have more than one of your findings. Oh, it's right over here. That's fine. My jump rings are falling out of my hands. And that's a problem. All right. I'm going to check and see if this will close without me adding any extra jump rings. Sometimes I have to add extra jump rings so that it articulates a little bit better. But I think this should be okay. Let's see if it closes without needing that extra oomph. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. There we go. And there we go. Super simple barrel knots basket weaving bracelet. I hope you guys are having a great night. If you got this Magical Mystery Bead Box and you want to add some of this SilverSilk, I'll put a link in my description to Nilay's store and where he's got these listed. And if you're not a subscriber to the Magical Mystery Bead Box and you would like to be, I will also put a link in the description that you can follow and get yourself subscribed because it is a fantastic bead box. Have a great night. Bye.